Miriam, a hardworking young woman and an employee of MrBeast, walked into a luxury store to buy a special gift. But instead of being treated with respect, she was humiliated and kicked out simply because of her appearance. What no one expected was that MrBeast would witness everything and decide to act in a way the whole world would never forget. He not only turned the situation around in an unbelievable way, but also transformed Miriam's pain into a revolution that changed thousands of lives. Want to know what he did? Get ready for an emotional and inspiring story that will touch your heart. Watch now and discover how a simple act of generosity can change the world. Leave your like, share your opinion, and spread the story so more people can understand the power of empathy and justice. The look of contempt. Miriam walked into the luxury store with her heart full of joy. She wanted to buy a special gift for her mother, who had always sacrificed everything for her. But soon, she noticed suspicious looks. A saleswoman, arms crossed, scanned her from head to toe. "I don't think we have anything affordable for you here," she said coldly. Shock ran through Miriam's body. She tried to argue, but the humiliation had already been inflicted. The cruel words pierced her soul like invisible blades. With teary eyes, she walked out of the store, unaware that her life was about to change forever. The flame of pain. The cold wind cut across her face as Miriam walked down the streets, trying to hold back her tears. She couldn't understand why this was still happening. Working for MrBeast, she had seen generosity and kindness in the world, but moments like this made her doubt. Her heart felt heavy. It wasn't about the money. She could afford it. It was about something deeper, the wound of being judged solely by her appearance. Deep down, she felt she shouldn't tell anyone, but fate had other plans. Someone had witnessed everything and was about to turn her pain into something extraordinary. The call of destiny. MrBeast saw everything from a distance. He was in town filming a video when he noticed the scene. His heart filled with outrage. He had always believed in equality, but seeing his friend and employee being treated that way awakened something inside him. It wasn't just about Miriam. It was about the thousands of people who experience this every day. He took a deep breath. "This can't go on," he muttered. It was time to act, but not just in any way. He didn't want revenge. He wanted change. And when MrBeast wants something, he makes it happen, always in grand style. The extraordinary plan. That night, MrBeast gathered his team, with eyes shining with determination. He told them what had happened. "We're not just going to expose this injustice. We're going to turn this pain into hope," he said as his team listened attentively. The plan was bold. Buy the entire store and transform it so that everyone would feel welcome, regardless of race, status, or appearance. But that was just the beginning. He wanted to find more stories like Miriam's and show the world that respect and dignity are rights, not privileges. The project already had a name: the Generosity Revolution, the return to the store. The next day, MrBeast and his team arrived at the store. Miriam hesitated at the entrance, reliving the pain of the previous day. But this time, she wasn't alone. As they walked in, the employees widened their eyes. The manager rushed over. "How can I help you?" His voice was noticeably kinder now that he was in front of an influential man. MrBeast smiled and said bluntly, "We want to buy the store. Right now." Silence filled the room. The saleswoman who had humiliated Miriam turned pale. The tables were about to turn. The twist of fate. The manager stammered, unable to process the information. "You want to buy the store?" MrBeast nodded firmly. Papers were signed. Minutes later, the news was already spreading across social media. The store that had once symbolized discrimination would now serve a new purpose: helping underprivileged communities by offering luxury clothing at symbolic prices. The saleswoman who had humiliated Miriam tried to explain herself, But the truth was inescapable. The world already knew what she had done. Miriam, however, held no grudges. Her heart was too big for that. The viral impact. The story went viral. Videos, posts, and comments flooded social media. The world was shocked, moved, and inspired. MrBeast didn't just buy the store. He also announced the launch of an affordable fashion project, ensuring that no one would ever be humiliated like Miriam again. Companies started speaking up. Influencers shared the initiative. What began as an act of prejudice turned into a global movement. And Miriam, who had simply wanted to buy a gift for her mother, became the symbol of a silent yet powerful revolution. The lesson learned. The former saleswoman was fired, but Miriam insisted she be given a second chance. Ignorance can be turned into learning, she said. MrBeast, impressed with her wisdom, offered the woman awareness training and the opportunity to work on the new project. Many thought Miriam was too kind, but she knew that teaching is the best way to change the world. The woman accepted with tears in her eyes. For the first time, she truly saw the pain she had caused. The unforgettable event. Days later, the store reopened with a grand charity event. Lines formed, and the energy was electrifying. People who had never been able to step inside that space now entered with their heads held high, their eyes shining with emotion. Children ran around smiling, clutching new clothes as if they were treasures. Families embraced, and elderly people who had never imagined wearing something so sophisticated cried with joy. Miriam watched everything in silence, feeling an inexplicable gratitude. Every face there carried a story. Every smile was a victory. MrBeast moved closer, touching her shoulder. "This happened because of you," he said sincerely. She smiled, her eyes welling up with tears. "No, this happened because you wanted to make a difference. I was just part of the journey." The event was an overwhelming success. Newspapers, influencers, and even celebrities attended, not just to show support, but to learn. Because there, in that transformed space, a silent lesson echoed. When one person raises their voice against injustice, many unite to change the world. The power of example. The project grew impressively. What was once just a store had now become a global movement. Luxury stores in other cities began reaching out, wanting to replicate the initiative. The impact was no longer just an isolated gesture. It was a revolution in how the market treated its customers. Miriam became a symbol of resilience. Invited to speak at conferences, interviews, and international events, she shared her story with the same humility as always. "This isn't about me," she would say. "It's about every person who has ever been silenced, ignored, or humiliated. It's about never accepting invisibility again." The most surprising thing was that others started sharing similar stories. Men and women who had been discriminated against because of their color, background, or appearance found strength in what Miriam and MrBeast had done. Meanwhile, a former store clerk who had humiliated her went through training and, months later, asked to speak with Miriam. "Thank you for not hating me," she said, eyes downcast. "I was blind. Now I see the world differently." Miriam simply smiled. "We can all change. The difference lies in the choice." And that's how transformation happened. Not through imposition, but by example. The world watches. The story became a landmark in the fight for equality. International newspapers, TV shows, and even universities began studying the impact of MrBeast's initiative. Major brands restructured their policies. Some companies, fearing backlash, implemented changes just to avoid scandals. But others genuinely touched change because they understood the importance of respect. Prejudice still existed, but now it faced resistance. Before, people suffered in silence. Now, they had a voice. The impact was visible. Employees were trained to prevent discrimination. Managers were instructed not to judge by appearance. The change was slow but real. MrBeast, for his part, continued expanding his projects. And Miriam? She became an ambassador for the generosity revolution, traveling the world to inspire other initiatives. Her life had completely changed, but her essence remained intact. During one of her trips, a young man approached her, his eyes shining with emotion. I was rejected because of my appearance. But when I saw your story, I realized I don't have to accept that. Thank you for giving me courage. She held his hands and said firmly, "Never lower your head for anyone. You are worth far more than the opinion of someone who doesn't know your heart." And at that moment, Miriam realized her purpose was greater than she had ever imagined. Miriam's mother. Amidst everything, Miriam finally bought the gift for her mother. But now, that simple gift no longer carried the same weight. The true gift was what she had achieved, not just for herself, but for so many others. When she arrived home, she found her mother sitting on the porch, gazing at the starry sky. Her eyes, tired but filled with love, lit up at the sight of her. "My daughter, I always knew you would do something great." Miriam sat beside her, holding her wrinkled hands. "I only did what you always taught me, to choose love over hate." They embraced, feeling the weight of the journey, but also the lightness of victory. At that moment, Miriam realized that her greatest wealth wasn't success, fame, or the opportunities that had come her way. Her greatest wealth was the legacy she would leave behind. And in that instant, under the infinite sky, mother and daughter understood that even in the face of darkness, light always finds a way to shine. The legacy of an act. Time passed, but the story was never forgotten. Documentaries were made. Schools used the case as an example of overcoming adversity and transformation. The generosity revolution became a model followed worldwide. And most importantly, Miriam never lost her essence. Even though she was recognized on the streets, invited to events, and honored for her impact, she always said, "True power is not in fame or money. It's in what you choose to do with them." MrBeast's proudest friend remained by her side, creating new projects and changing lives. Years later, a dark-skinned little girl walked into the store that had once rejected Miriam. This time, there were no looks of disdain, no prejudice, only a warm smile from the clerk, who welcomed her with open arms. And at that moment, it became clear that a simple act of kindness has the power to transform not just one life, but the entire world.